Psychological factors induce uterine fibroids. Not long ago, a hospital conducted a survey on the causes of uterine fibroids and other gynecological diseases. The results show that if women are in a state of emotional depression for a long time, they are susceptible to gynecological diseases. 70% of people who suffer from uterine fibroids report that they are very stressed. It can be seen that psychological factors can also lead to the onset of uterine fibroids. Listed below are 10 psychological factors that cause uterine fibroids. 1. Overload work pressure. While the overall pace of society is rapidly accelerating, urban white-collar workers are even more trapped by high-intensity work pressure. Many of them are in a state of high stress for a long time, and often fail to get timely adjustments. Over time, they will develop symptoms such as anxiety and depression, and even induce psychological disorders or mental illness. From a physical point of view, if a person's spirit is always highly stressed, it will cause endocrine dysfunction and a decline in immunity, prone to various physical and mental diseases, and even cause overworked death. 2. Changes in relationship and family. In modern society, there are more and more psychological problems caused by emotional frustration and marriage changes. Lost in love is undoubtedly a very painful emotional experience. The person who is broken in love will suffer endlessly because of the inability to part with the feelings. The sense of loss will increase the degree of psychological imbalance. Some people will have psychological obstacles or even irrational excesses, which will cause the other party and themselves irreparable damage. With the change of modern ideological concepts, as well as the emphasis and requirements on the quality of marriage, the divorce rate is showing a rising trend. The injured party after divorce, especially women, often cannot withstand the blow of such an accident, causing psychological harm. A related survey shows that among the divorced people, about 70% of them feel overstressed. This group is in great need of psychological support and help. 3. Psychology of dependence on the Internet. Emergence of the Internet has greatly facilitated the lives and work of modern people, but its negative impact cannot be ignored. Especially young people have a great interest in the Internet, and the Internet has become an important part of their lives. Appropriate Internet access is beneficial, but spending a lot of time on the Internet every day or visiting some unhealthy websites is very likely to induce mental illness among Internet users. For example, long-term online chatting, games, and online dating are very likely to cause Internet users to be in a virtual state for a long time and affect their normal cognition, emotion, and psychological positioning. In severe cases, personality splits may even occur. 4. Living poverty increases the psychological pressure of this group is mainly laid-off workers and poor college students. Without a job, the family has no source of income, and the psychological pressure can be imagined. Under the dual effects of psychological pressure and life pressure, it is very easy to cause mental illness and even cause a family breakdown. Poverty students have always been a sensitive topic in colleges and universities. For some impoverished students entering colleges and universities, on the one hand, it is the distress of the economic situation. On the other hand, it is the cause of vanity. This reality will aggravate the ambivalence and increase the probability of these impoverished students' mental illness. 5. Psychological tendency to seek quick success. In the pursuit of a career, some people have a tendency to rush for quick success, and they often cannot withstand the blow of failure. Because they have high expectations for success and do not want to expend too much effort, they always want to get something for nothing. But the reality is often not changed by people's subjective wishes. And of course, it is easy to be disappointed. There are also people who work desperately because they are eager to achieve success, constantly pressurize themselves, and always demand themselves. As a result, they often fail due to excess energy and lack of energy and induce psychological disorders such as depression and autism. 6. The learning task is too heavy, as we all know. From a certain perspective, students, especially middle school students, suffer the most. Faced with endless books and endless review materials, facing the ardent expectations of their parents and teachers, they feel overwhelmed. At present, whether it is a primary school student, a middle school student, or a university student, many people suffer from various degrees of mental illness. Psychological symptoms caused by test pressure mainly include slow response, overreaction, restlessness, fear of learning, depression, and study weariness. 7. Too much spoiling the only child. Many only children are selfish, poorly sociable, poorly adaptable, and other phenomena have become more difficult problems for parents and schools. But the root of these problems lies with the parents. They spoil their only child too much. In addition to developing bad habits such as willfulness and selfishness, children who grow up in spoiling often show withdrawn personality, poor endurance, social fear, and even violent tendencies. Parents' spoiling will cause the child's psychological focus. This potential crisis is like a time bomb, and the lethality after detonation is huge. 8. Unaffordable. After the investment is damaged in recent years, people's investment awareness has been increasing, such as buying stocks, buying lottery tickets, buying houses, doing business, and so on. There are both investment components and speculative operations. When the long-term investment does not get the expected return or the capital suffers serious losses, it is inevitable that people will be psychologically imbalanced. A strong sense of frustration, violent emotional fluctuations, and the loss of huge amounts of funds are very likely to destroy a person's psychological defense, and some people may even commit suicide. 9. Difficult to adapt to social development. Modern society is developing rapidly and changing rapidly, but some people find it difficult to adapt for various reasons. This incompatibility includes many aspects: uncomfortable with social injustices, depressed and irritable because of their inability to change the status quo, uncomfortable with uneven distribution in the unit, and resentful of their low pay. A sense of loss and no belonging is caused by the paleness of belief. Anxious and helpless because of the gap between personal skills and modernization. The above can cause people to have a mental illness. 10. Elderly people lack spiritual care. Now that it has entered an aging society, the spiritual care of the elderly is a major issue that the whole society should pay attention to. At present, the material life of most elderly people is basically satisfied, but their spiritual life and psychological needs may not be satisfactory. A survey shows that the current mental illness of the elderly is on the rise, and it is mainly due to a lack of mental care. It can be seen that the loss of love for the elderly in their later years has become a problem that cannot be ignored, which is an important cause of psychological problems for the elderly.